Have you ever spoken with all the logic in the world, yet somehow nobody listened? I used to think respect had to be earned through argument, like a soldier fighting every word on a battlefield. But one day, in the middle of a tense meeting, I discovered something that changed the way I communicate forever. I raised my voice, and the room went silent. Not because they respected me. They were just waiting for me to stop. That day I learned the truth. Real power doesn't come from shouting. It comes from presence, from calmness, and from words so precise they can't be ignored. You don't need to raise your voice to command respect. You need to raise your clarity. And when you master that, people start listening differently. At work, at home, even in everyday interactions. Today, I'm sharing 5 phrases that, when used at the right moment, make people listen. Phrases that radiate calm strength. The kind that can silence a room without saying much at all. Stick with me till the end, because phrase 3 completely changed how I handle conflict. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters." The Stoics understood something vital. Self-control is the highest form of power. Control your words, and you control the situation. I've failed at this many times. Lost my temper, spoken too soon, regretted it. But over time, I noticed a pattern. Every time I spoke from emotion, I lost respect. Every time I spoke from reason, I gained it. The difference? Just a few seconds, a pause before speaking. That pause is where the magic of Stoic wisdom lives. Phrase 1. I understand your point, but I disagree. The first time I used this, I was dealing with someone who dominated every discussion. Normally, I would argue until exhausted. But that day, I paused, took a breath, and said calmly, and quote, I understand your point, but I disagree. And quote. The room went quiet, not because I won, but because I showed control. This phrase says, I'm listening, I'm calm, but I won't be pushed around. Stoics call this separating judgment from emotion. You don't react, you respond. You don't argue endlessly, you stand firm. And that subtle control? It shifts how people treat you, instantly. Phrase 2. I don't find that appropriate. I learned this one the hard way. Once, I stayed silent when someone said something offensive. I thought avoiding conflict was safe, but silence can feel like agreement. From that moment, I promised to protect my dignity and the dignity of others, calmly. Next time, I calmly said, I don't find that appropriate. No anger, no lecture, just calm conviction. Seneca said, he who respects himself will be respected by others. This phrase draws a line. People immediately reconsider their tone, jokes, and attitude because they sense they've crossed a boundary. Phrase 3. Let's talk when we can do so respectfully. This phrase changed my life. During a heated argument with someone close, I felt my words would hurt, so I paused, took a breath, and said, and quote, let's talk when we can do so respectfully. End quote. Then I walked away. Walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Epictetus taught that we cannot control what others say, only how we respond. This phrase doesn't avoid conflict, it masters it. It sets the rules for conversation, disarms aggression, and shifts the focus from argument to behavior. Respect becomes the condition for engaging with you. Phrase 4. I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. Some battles aren't worth fighting. I learned this after years of trying to convince people who refuse to understand. One day, in a pointless back and forth, I calmly said, and quote, I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. End quote, and I walked away. The peace I felt was transformative. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. This phrase protects your energy without being rude. You're not rejecting the person, you're rejecting the chaos. And that distinction is powerful. Phrase 5. That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it. This is the perfect balance of courtesy and conviction. I used to bend my beliefs to keep the peace, but that only made me invisible. One day, in a discussion I cared about deeply, I said, "Anquat, that's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it." End quote. The other person paused and nodded. Calm confidence speaks louder than agreement. Seneca said, "To live according to reason is to live in freedom." This phrase is freedom in words. You acknowledge others' views, empathy, while affirming your own truth, strength. That balance earns real respect. Here are the 5 phrases that command respect without shouting. 1. I understand your point, but I disagree. 2. I don't find that appropriate. 3. Let's talk when we can do so respectfully. 4. I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. 5. That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it. These sentences aren't just about influence, they're about self-mastery. They change how others see you, and more importantly, how you see yourself. In a world that rewards noise, calmness is revolutionary. True respect isn't demanded, it's inspired. And it starts with how you speak, how you choose your words, tone, and silence. Next time someone tries to provoke you, remember, a storm can't move the mountain. You don't need to shout to be strong. You just need to stand firm, steady, and clear. At Stoic Spring, I teach you how to speak, think, and act with the wisdom of the great philosophers, to live with more respect, peace, and unshakable inner strength. Subscribe now and tell me in the comments, which of these 5 phrases will you use first? I'll read every answer.